Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is John Clinebell. I'm the co-founder of 2Indie, and I'm here on a Thursday night, as always, to do the music industry talk show. This is going to be a Q&A edition. I'm going to do a little bit of song feedback potentially as well. Welcome, everybody. If you're tuning in on a replay, appreciate you giving a like, subscribing, all that stuff. We're on a number of different platforms with this show. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube. It's on Twitch and Twitter. That's my cat, Piper. Maybe zooming in and out of the screen on occasion. Hope you're having an amazing week. And it's almost the holidays. Thanksgiving's next week. What's your plans? Let me know in the chat. You can always drop a line in the chat. I love putting chats up on the screen. And so hi Facebook user. Not sure who you are, but on Streamlab it does not show me the individual names on Facebook accounts. So if you're a Facebook user and you would like to say hi and have me know who it is, it would be really helpful to say, hey, it's so and so. But hello, Facebook user. Hello, Hanogi Stone. Welcome to the show. So, like I was saying, we have a semi-public group about music licensing that's on Facebook. And in that group, I was talking about answering a bunch of questions about music licensing. We have a private chat in that group, and anybody in the group can ask questions, any question they want about music licensing. And there have been a lot of questions that have been asked over the last couple of weeks, and I want to get to them tonight. So that's what I'm going to start out with doing. Possibly going to do some song feedback as well. And I'm going to drop in also the link for that just in case anybody does want to drop a song in. I'm going to be doing some song listening later, but not quite now. I have to deliver on the promise that I made. I was actually going to do some of this last week, but I didn't do it. But I'm going to answer a bunch of questions here. Let's see. So we're going to go from the top of this, and I got to get this open in Messenger so that I can see all the questions that have been asked since this whole thing started. All right. So I'm going to ask some questions. I'm going to, ask on behalf of the people who submitted them. So let's see. I have to give the disclaimer that I don't know everything. Obviously, I don't know everything. And I don't proclaim to. So, just want to give that, piece of feedback just to start. I do have a lot of success in the music industry as an independent artist. I've had my music placed hundreds of times on ads, TV, film, different in-store stuff, as well as have had some cool artist cuts with independent artists that are up and coming, and done really well for myself these last few years. And it's been so cool with Sonnet Simmons, my business partner, to create 2Indie to help independent artists to take that next step forward, build a business that they own, and find ways that they can monetize their superpowers in the music industry. So it's a big part of what we do here at 2Indie. And Sonnet does a listening session on Tuesdays, and I do this show on Thursdays that's broadcast live to a number of channels. Again, welcome everybody on Facebook, welcome everybody on YouTube and Twitch, and as well Twitter. So we are broadcasting live to all of those places. All right, so without further ado, let's get into some of these questions. I'm going to put them up on the screen so that it's easy for people to read the questions, or so they don't have to necessarily be listening to me super intently. But let's go ahead and save this, and then let's see if these work. So weird. Okay. Let's see. Why is that not working? Trying to get this to show, and I don't know what's going on here. Let's try this again. Let's try a different one. Okay, here we go. All right, so this question comes from Fernando. And Fernando asks, do most music supervisors or music synchronization companies work with artists who do not have the exclusive rights to the instrumentals? So let me just think about this for a second. Do not have the exclusive rights to the instrumentals. So one thing to know about anything that you want to license to film and television, is in order to do that, you have to clear both the publishing side and the master. So you have to, it doesn't matter if you have exclusive rights to the instrumentals. What matters is if you can clear them. So if you have control of them. If you don't control the song, then you can't license it. So music supervisors and synchronization companies only work with artists who can fully clear their songs. So if they can't fully clear their songs, then they're not going to be able to work with you. Otherwise, what they would have to do is you'd have to rope in the other parties that also partially control the music so that you can do a deal with a rep agency or do something directly with a music supervisor. So I hope that clears that up. Let's see. Hey, welcome everybody. We've got Johanna is here. We've got Chris here. Thanks so much for tuning in on these different platforms. It's good to be on YouTube. And our numbers are growing all the time. So, we don't know exactly the format of this show yet, but it's coming along. One of the things, like I was saying before, we really want to be doing is answering questions. So that's what we're doing a little bit of today, is answering kind of a backlog of questions that have been dropped into us over the last few weeks. So let's keep going here. So that's the first question. Hope that answers your question. Appreciate the question, Fernando. Let's see what else. Who's next? So Chris has a question. Now let me see if I can edit this and just quickly put it up. Cool. All right, here we go. Chris asks, I am a songwriter with full rights to masters, copyrights, and all music. I have broadcast quality productions. Where could I learn the what and how behind pitching songs for sync? So learning the what and how behind pitching songs for sync, there's actually a very easy way you can do that. And Sonnet and I have put this together for everybody. You could just go to 2indie.com/bootcamp. Again, it's 2indie.com/bootcamp. And we've created a 90-minute version of a curriculum that we used to teach that literally costs thousands of dollars and gives you all of the foundation that you need in order to start licensing your music. So pitching songs for sync, there's an art form to it. There's an etiquette to it. There's also a couple of books that I might recommend too. There's a book by Amanda Craig Thomas that's called, let me see what the title is. Amanda Craig Thomas book. Her book is called Thinking in Sync, and sync is SYNC, a primer on the mind of a music supervisor. Again, it's Thinking in Sync, a primer on the mind of a music supervisor, which is a great book. It's a great place to really, I think more than anything, get a foundation for how music supervisors think and how they are best approached. So that's a book that I would recommend as well. Like I said, I would recommend that boot camp. So the way you can get that is 2indie. I'm going to drop it right in the chat here, actually. 2indie.com/bootcamp. And it's free. 90 minutes. Sonnet and I had a lot of fun recording it, and it's got a lot of detail in there. So you're going to get a start on how to, the what and the how behind pitching songs, like who you pitch them to and why, and what's some of the stuff that you want to do and some of the things you really want to avoid, like those beginner's mistakes. So we go into all of that stuff. So I hope that helps. Hope that helps, Chris. So great questions so far. And I love hearing your question. It's like, I am a songwriter with full rights to masters, copyrights, and all music. That means you're prepared to do business. And also, if you have broadcast quality productions, it doesn't hurt you either. So nice job there, Chris. So you're asking the right questions. Okay, so next. Let's see. Metadata, list of metadata words. I'm just going to put this up here so we can talk about metadata for a little bit. So let's see, where's the banners? Let's go ahead and hide that, and I'll update this. Let's go ahead and save this and put it up on the screen. So yeah, Brian asks, metadata, list of metadata words. So metadata, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to probably just pull open my Disco account so that I can just straight up look at the fields that are in Disco, because those are the ones that you mainly want to concern yourself with. Let me just go ahead and pull this up. So metadata is the data that you can encode into your audio files, and you can encode them into MP3s and AIFFs. You cannot encode metadata into WAV files, which is important to note because if you're sending high quality files over to people, you want people to be able to understand where those files are coming from, who owns them, who's the artist, so on and so forth. And if you send a WAV, you're not going to include that data. An AIFF file is equally as high quality as a WAV, and it's the same quality. So it's the same quality of audio, but it actually, you can put metadata into it. So you can encode this data so that people can identify the songs that you're sending about. So to answer your question about metadata and list of metadata words, so I think what you're probably asking for is like, well, what am I putting in as far as like the actual keywords? Keywords I think they can be kind of an overrated aspect of metadata. There are literally people that sell courses on how to put your metadata into your files and charge like hundreds and sometimes even thousands of dollars. And it just makes me laugh and roll my eyes because honestly, here's what you need to know about metadata. You need to know the title of the song, the artist, if it's part of an album or an EP, the album or EP title. You need to know the year, if the song has been released. You need to know the release date, the BPM, and you need to know the split information and your contact information. Now, the place you put everything that I described up until I started talking about the split information is actually in fields. If you use something like disco.ac, which is it's industry standard, you literally just fill in the blanks with the answers of what these things are. There's no rocket science to it. BPM is beats per minute, and it's a number. And it's something that you can find through your DAW, or you can use a beat detector to detect what the BPM is of a song, and then you'll be good to go there. So yeah, but let's talk about like what needs to go in the field that's called comments. So comments is like, for metadata, that is the catch-all field for me. And what you always want to put in your metadata in the comments to start is who can clear the song. So, for example, if I own all the rights to a song and I can clear it 100%, I may put something to the effect of master clearance one stop, and my email address and my phone number, possibly my name too, because it's nice to let people know who they're actually reaching out to. So yeah, you need to definitely put your contact information up at the top there. So, but then once you do that, typically what I'll do is I'll literally list out all the split information, the writing, the publishing splits, the master splits, all three of those, so that it's totally transparent who owns the song, who owns all aspects of the song. And if I am saying at the beginning, that I am a contact to clear the entire master, it's implied that I have the permission of everybody who is a writer, who's a publisher, and who's a master owner to clear that music. And if they have questions about that, believe me, if they want to use the song, they will contact you and they will ask all the questions that they need to ask. Now, it can be helpful when you're putting in your split information. It can be really helpful to them, just so you don't have to end up sending it later. It can be really helpful for them to understand, well, okay, who are the parties that own the rights to this music? And you can be very specific about it too. You can indicate who the PRO is for each writer. You can indicate what's called an IPI number is for each account. And what that is a unique identifier that the PRO assigns you, so that your account will not be confused with any other account. So those are really the key fields. Now, when you're talking about metadata, list of metadata words, what people will sometimes do is they'll try to sneak keywords in the bottom into that comments field. So here's one thing you don't want to do. One thing you do want to do is you want to, if there are, say, 6 to 10 relevant keywords to your song that help identify the genre, that help identify like thematic content, that help identify some of the main instruments, the core instruments of your song, that can be helpful. So putting in that information there can be good. What you don't want to do is just jam 50 keywords in there, because here's what it does. It usually makes your metadata very unhelpful to people, because then your songs start popping up for searches that your song has no business popping up for. So if somebody searches, so you put a bunch of popular artists in your keyword, that's a trick that some people try, and say you put it in a popular artist, and the song sounds nothing like that popular artist. Don't you think it's going to piss off the person who's searching for the music that you put in, like Christina Aguilera, or you put in Billie Eilish, or you put in Rilo Kiley, or whatever it is, and your music sounds nothing like that? Don't you think that's going to piss them off that you put that in there? I would say yes. You're trying to rig the game, and you don't need to do that. You really, to put your best foot forward, your metadata, the job of your metadata is not to market you. It's not to get you gigs. Your metadata is to make clear to the person who opens your file, who's the file, who owns the file, who are the people who own the rights to the music, and how can I contact them if I want to clear those rights so that I can sync it to picture. So hopefully we're all clear on that. Metadata, I'm not going to dismiss them. You don't want to leave your metadata blank, because if your metadata is blank, then people can't find you. And that's not good, because people need to be able to get authorization to license music. And if you don't put your contact information in there, that's actually your biggest mistake in metadata. All you have to do with metadata, at like a very least, put in the title, put in the artist, put in your contact information, and something along the lines of one-stop master clearance. If that's something you can do, if you can clear all the rights to the song, and you have agreement with all the parties who own rights to the song that you can represent it for licensing, then you can say one-stop easy clearance. Part of easy clearance is you got to be careful with easy clearance a little bit, because easy clearance can also imply this can be cleared at an affordable rate. So just another piece of advice. So if you don't, a lot of times with independent artists, that can be a good thing, though, because a lot of times when they are looking for music from independent artists, they're doing so because they can afford just to pay a lower rate. They can't afford the big budget song that they'd love to have in that place. Instead, they've got to find something that works and is super compelling and is great for picture, but they don't have a lot of money for it. So yeah, that's my my whole spiel on metadata, and I'm sticking to it. But thanks for the question there, Brian. Sort of a question. I just think I interpreted a question here a little bit from what you typed in, and hopefully this, I'm not coming across harsh, but the thing is, it honestly, and this is a thing that I get really upset about sometimes when I think about it, is that there's a lot of people out there that try to rip people off, and there's a lot of people that are presenting metadata as if it was and the same thing happens with ISRC codes too, right? It's like you find one thing that really doesn't matter that much, and then you become quote unquote the expert about it, and then you charge hundreds of dollars to teach people about it. Like there's people who charge hundreds of dollars to teach about ISRC codes, which is also the most ridiculous thing ever. ISRC codes are just their identification codes for commerce. So if you release your song on a distributor, it has to have an ISRC code. Your song doesn't need an ISRC code until you distribute the music. So there's no need for an ISRC code. If you don't put your ISRC code into your metadata, but you don't have the song released, it's fine. It's not a big deal. But people will get super worked up about all that. And it just makes me upset. So anyways, that's a little piece of information on metadata. Definitely fill in your metadata. And the way you do that is you can use something like Disco. You can actually use iTunes too. I just think it's like so clunky. It's not built to be a metadata editor, but Disco, disco.ac is just, it's kind of an all-in-wonder when it comes to, it's really the industry standard when it comes to getting your files ready to share with decision makers in the music industry for sync. So, and it's pretty affordable too, you know. All right, so that's that question. All right, this is good. I'm feeling good. We're getting some questions answered here. Let's see, what else? Rolando has a question. So I'm going to drop Rolando's question in here. And I apologize, some of these questions were asked a week or two ago, but definitely am getting to them now. And if this is mainly what I do today, it's going to be good for me, just to feel good, making sure that everybody gets the support they need around these questions, because they're important stuff, One of the things that Sonnet and I really want to make sure that everybody has is all their basic questions answered about licensing, because there's a lot to know. As with anything in the music industry, there's a lot to know. All right, so this question's from Rolando. I am a one-stop shop. How long can a music supervisor take to answer back after sending my music? So music supervisor might not even see your email. So that's the supervisor may never respond to you. That's a fact. Here's what I say about pitching your stuff is polite persistence. So you always want to be polite, but you also, it's fine to be persistent about it. If you don't get a response from somebody, I would use the rule of you probably wouldn't want to reach out to somebody more than once every 2 or 3 months if you don't already have a relationship with them. And every time you reach out to them, I would highly recommend that you have new music to share. So it's not like, hey, did you listen? Did you hear my song yet? Hey, did you get my email? Because the last thing we want to do in the business world is make people feel bad for not seeing your message, which is the honest truth. 99% of the time, that's what it is. They just don't even see your message. There are some supervisors that get, and I'm talking like supervisors that aren't using a burner address, because there's tons of supervisors and other decision makers in the industry that will give out an email address that they almost never check. So that's something too, it's just a fact. People sometimes have multiple email addresses, but if you're not talking about a burner email address, then the honest truth is it could take, I've known people who I do a zero inbox. So I see every single email that comes in, even the junk stuff. And it's kind of annoying, but it's just what works for me. But I'm a rare person in the industry, I think. I think most people are not on top of their email like that. So if that's the case, and you think some folks probably get dozens, if not 100 emails, maybe even more than that a day, what are the chances that they're going to read your email and click on it? Pretty low, right? So what do? You stay persistent with it, but you be polite and never send that question mark email. Never send that. Super rude. Never send anything that makes it sound like you're entitled to a response from them, because it's nobody likes that. I don't like it when people write me like that. It's disrespectful. It's like, you don't understand what my day-to-day is like, and you're assuming that I have all the time in the world to respond to you when I may only have like a couple, and I'm just talking like now theoretically, if I was a music supervisor, I may only have 15 minutes out of my week to kind of mess around and see if there's any new emails that have come in that I might like to click a couple links, random links, and see if I'd like some music that's come in, So that's, the fact of the matter is that's what happens a lot of the time. Stuff gets lost. So the answer, again, to your question is, how long can a music supervisor take? I mean, as long as time exists, right? It could take forever. They may never respond to you, and they may respond right away. Actually, here's a little quick tip is, you always want to send your emails when you're sending. It's like giving the impression that it's like, there's absolutely no rush on reply. I will literally use the words no rush on reply. And that implies that I respect them. And I understand, like, they're not going to have infinite time. And, it's really, honestly, if they have the time to listen to my music, I really appreciate it, but I also respect them. So, and I think people really appreciate that too. I've had a lot of times where I've sent no rush on reply, or something to that. There's a few ways you could say it, but just saying that sentence, I've had so many times where somebody who seems like they're really busy, they just there's something I think with that statement that just says, hey, you know what, I understand that you got a lot going on, and I'm not demanding that you respond to me in any kind of way. And I think people appreciate that. So I've had a good response with that. And yeah, so that's what I say with that, is just be polite, be persistent. When you do follow up with people, make sure that you have new cool stuff to share with them. And, you want to, if you are following up on an email that you sent them previously, I would suggest to pretend like the previous email didn't even exist, even if you're responding in the same email. You could literally just send them the kind of the same stuff if you wanted to 2 to 3 months later if you didn't get a response. But you never want to say, hey, did you get my email? Hey, I noticed you didn't read my email. Hey, when were you planning to read my email? It's never going to work out for you. It really won't. All right. So Rolando, hopefully that's good. Hopefully that helps. There's an etiquette thing to this whole thing with pitching that's just super important. So that's one of the things going back to, I believe it was Chris that was asking about this, that, the etiquette around all this and around pitching, that's definitely one of the things. And that thing that I just talked about is one of the things that's in our boot camp. So if you go to 2indie.com/bootcamp, you'll get all that information. We have, I think there's like a top 10 tips on pitching your music in that we go into in detail. And it's one of those things, I may have actually touched on a couple of the things there, but there's a lot of valuable information in there that could help you with your approach. Facebook user asks, where do we drop our song link for feedback? I put mine in there. Is that good? Yeah, actually we don't use that. I actually can't even copy and paste stuff out of there from Streamlabs. So the way we do it is there's a submission form, and I'll actually put it up here. Let's see, because I will do a little bit of listening later on. And I'll put this banner up. Let's see, it's a ticker. So you can see down at the bottom, 2indie.com/listening session. If you go there and you register, we'll get an email that will contain not only the schedule and the Zoom, so that if you want to join Sonnet on her Tuesday listening sessions, you can do that in the future, but it'll also give you a form that you can use to submit your song. So, and that's where I pull all the songs from that I do listening to on Thursday nights as well. But it's an ongoing form, so you can drop in the song. If we don't get to it tonight, Sonnet will pick up next week. It's always really easy too, especially with Sonnet, because she'll literally just be on Zoom with people, and it's really cool. Like, unfortunately on this format, I can't bring people up and say, hey, can you break down the song for me? Tell me what you were planning to do with this. What's your strategy? A little coaching that can happen with it. That's kind of fun. But I do a little listening on here as well. And but I'm going to do that a little later. Like I said, I'm mainly focused here on answering questions because there's a lot of questions that have been dropped into our chat that's in our public. It's like a semi-public Facebook group on licensing that we get a lot of basic questions in, and I want to make sure that they all get answered tonight. So that's my mission, and I'm sticking to it. So let's go ahead and what's next? So here we go. Am I looking for music? Actually, this is a good thing to respond to, I think. Let's see. Am I looking for music? So I used to work for a licensing agency called Catch the Moon, and did that for 3 years. And yeah, I was working at an agency, and we were pitching music, and it was really exciting in that regard. Landed a number of really cool spots for independent artists. I'm not a rep agent. I don't work at a rep agency anymore. So I'm not looking for songs to rep. But what we do at 2Indie is we have a private community called Licensing Basecamp, where what we do instead, because we no longer are a licensing agency. So Sonnet and I used to work for Catch the Moon, and that company disbanded in December of last year. It was about a year ago. So we decided we'd start our own company. But what we're doing, we're not pitching music. What we're doing is we're teaching, and then we're bringing in licensing agencies. So these agencies are the people that have relationships with music supervisors and ad agencies. So we bring in a partner agency every month, and that agency is actively looking for music, and they give everybody in our private community an opportunity and a brief they basically say, hey, this is what we need. And then you get a month. It's like, go. You get a month to create a song that works perfectly for that agency. And then at the end of the month, what we do is we take the best of the songs that were submitted from that month and we give it to the agency, as well as we have a wide number of different agencies that we have contacts with, good relationships with. So we act more as A&R for agencies and for supervisors and so on and so forth. So we're not actively looking for music directly, but what we do is we've created a structure where people get an opportunity every month to connect with someone who is looking for music. So if any of that sounds cool to you, you can go to, we have all the information on our website, 2indie.com. And I think the specific page is 2indie.com/Basecamp. Because the community that we run is called Licensing Basecamp. So yeah, but I used to be looking for music all the time. We used to get pitched all the time. So this is why I actually have some insights around, okay, because we'd get sent like gifts, we'd get sent like and some of these emails would be very persistent. Some emails would just kind of come out of the blue and be super aggressive. And so you get a taste for them. We get a lot of them too. So we really, when we're saying this, it's like it's not just because we know as independent artists who have had, I have relationships with, I think it's like 7 or 8 different licensing agencies that rep my music. So I have a lot of experience with approaching agencies, about building good relationships with agencies, but also understand the other side of it too. So it's nice to know kind of where both sides are coming from and kind of appreciate both perspectives. It helps you to make better relationships, I think. So I think it's just, the best question to maybe ask somebody if they're in the licensing world is maybe not, hey, are you looking for my music? I would suggest maybe it's better to kind of listen first too with things, is just a suggestion too, because honestly, like a lot of the stuff that happens is based on relationships, and it's also based on the quality of your music. If your music's good, like Sonnet and I, we listen to music all the time. We listen to music every week, and we have these public listening sessions for a reason, because we enjoy connecting with new independent artists that we don't know yet. And if we hear songs that are really good, we're going to try our best to help you out. We're always trying to connect the dots with things. So, and the thing that's nice about our Basecamp community is you get 30 days for free. So if you check that out, if that's something that, when I've been talking about like the opportunity that everybody gets every month, it's definitely something worth giving a shot to if you're looking for places to pitch your music. All right, so we're going to hide that for now. Let's see, getting through here. Let's see, I'm feeling really good about this. Okay, here's another one. This is from Robert. Let me drop this in here. This is a question from Robert, and Robert asks, I was wondering, what is the process to getting connected to a music supervisor to get a sync license? Okay, so getting connected to a music supervisor. It's kind of an overly simplistic look at what you usually want to do in terms of building relationships in the industry and get to a place where your stuff is getting considered on a regular basis for stuff. So the process of connecting to music supervisors, there's a couple different directions. You can obviously start to build relationships with music supervisors. Again, if you really want to understand the psychology and also just the actual job that a music supervisor has, which I think is really important when you're starting to try to build those relationships directly, it can be really helpful to read the book by Amanda Craig Thomas that's called Thinking in Sync. Again, it's Thinking in Sync. Drop link to the Basecamp. Yeah, Joan, it's hang on a sec. If you go to 2indie.com, it's actually one of the top links up at the top. So it's really easy to find. If I said the link wrong, I apologize. I believe it's /Basecamp, but I'm not 1,000% sure, and I don't want to waste time here clicking on another page and doing the search for you. But fortunately, it's like really easy to find. It's like the link's right up at the top. It says Basecamp. So yeah. We have a boot camp and a base camp, but the base camp's the private community. The boot camp is the free 90-minute training that everybody gets. And you also get 30 days of base camp for free. So check it out. All right. So what is the process to getting connected to a music supervisor to get a sync license? So again, connecting with supervisors, it's totally possible. By the way, hi, Harmony, welcome. Harmony actually is one of our guide team members in our licensing base camp. She's definitely doing really well in sync. She's landing a lot of rep deals and making a lot of great music, is a wonderful person. And she's also, I just wanted to say thank you. You're one of our first merch customers. We just opened our merch store. I just got these mugs. I got these test mugs actually in the mail the other day, and they look really good. They look really good. So we opened up our Etsy store, and we've got mugs and other stuff there. We're not making any announcements yet, but if people really want to grab a mug or grab a shirt, there may be, just want to give a heads up to everybody. We have these. So this hat that I'm wearing, these are custom made hats, and we are going to be, well, there's going to be a Black Friday thing. So if you want one of these hats, we have a very limited number of them that we are going to be making available for sale. And it's going to be around Black Friday. So if you want to be in the know on that, just make sure you're connected with us, whether that be through sign up for the boot camp, sign up for base camp, get on our email list, and we'll be sending out an email about it. But looking forward. Yeah, that's awesome. You grabbed a t-shirt. We really appreciated that. That made our day. I was like, our first merch sale. But getting back to this question, because this is important. All right. So I talked about like connecting to music supervisors. Yes, music supervisors are very important in the music industry when it comes to getting licenses. They are the folks that they do such an amazing job, and they handle a number of different things. Some of it's creative, some of it's like balancing budget, some of it's relationships with the artists and just clearance and all that stuff. The clearance part of it can be incredibly intensive. It's a lot of different hats that they're wearing. So, so music supervisors are very busy people. And one thing that's different about the music industry now versus perhaps like 10 years ago, I would say even like 5 years ago, it was a lot easier to build direct relationships with music supervisors because people still didn't really know who they were. But now everybody in music licensing knows. Like, I would argue most people, if they know what sync is, if they know what the word sync means, then they're going to know that a music supervisor is part of that. And so, but that wasn't always the case. Like, say 10 years ago, most people, almost every single artist didn't even know that music licensing was something that you could get into, and they had no idea who to reach out to. But now everybody knows who music supervisors are, and they're the most in-demand people in the industry, in music licensing, that is. So, I mean, I would argue they're probably one of the most in-demand people in the music industry in general, in terms of, people that are getting pitched to, because they do have a lot of influence on, they don't have the final say a lot of the time on what music goes in and what doesn't. And some, they're serving a project. So they're working with a director, they're working with an ad agency, they're doing their job. And a lot of times, sometimes they have a lot of leeway in music that they put in. Sometimes they have very little leeway. And there's a very strict, it's like, this is the music we want. This is the budget we have. Let's see if we can make it happen. So, building relationships with them can be kind of tough today. It's not impossible, but to really get that inside scoop, I would get that Amanda Craig Thomas book and give it a read. A lot of the things that she talks about in that book, we do cover in our boot camp, like some of the things about music supervisors. Some of that information is in our boot camp. Obviously, we didn't take her book and put it in our boot camp, but her book is an amazing resource. I have it. I read it like once a year, just because it's a really good resource and a really good refresh on getting that mentality of the music supervisor. But here's the thing. You don't need, like, I've had placements direct from music supervisors from relationships that I've built. But I would say most, probably like 80 or 90% of my placements have come from having my music repped by somebody who has those relationships. So you don't need to have direct relationships with a music supervisor. So what you do is you get an agent. And the way that works is you get an agency to rep your music. And then they are the ones who get the briefs from these. This is another part about music supervisors. A lot of times they're the ones who may have like different briefs. They're the ones who are actively seeking out music, and who are the people they're sending that music to. It's not typically independent artists. Now, some music supervisors may have a list of different independent artists that they love and know that they can turn around different kinds of music in a short period of time, potentially, if they need to write something custom. So there are cases where music supervisors will send out their briefs. They're called briefs if they're looking for something for a project. They may send those briefs directly out to independent artists, but usually what they're doing is they're sending out these briefs to agencies. And agencies, they can rep your music. And usually what they do is they take a cut of what's called the master sync fees that come in. And these are the upfront fees that come from licensing your song, from synchronizing the music to picture. And yeah, they'll take a cut of that. And some of them may even take a cut of the publishing. Some of them may even take all the publishing. All the deals are different, but agencies are one of the ways. It's the reason why Sonnet and I believe so strongly that we built our entire licensing program, our entire community and our entire private community is built around getting rep, because we feel like it is really the strongest way for most independent artists to make progress, to get their music to the decision makers that are there, because it is so hard to make those direct contacts with music supervisors and ad agencies. So that's our suggestion is, and I say our because, I know I speak for Sonnet as well with this. Is our suggestion is for most people, it's going to make more sense. You're going to get more bang for your time, and you're going to build better relationships that are more productive by, instead of focusing on the music supervisors and the ad agencies, building relationships with agents that can pitch your music to those people and be really effective about it, because they are the ones who get the opportunity to. They know what they're looking for, versus you may not have any idea what they're looking for. And it can be a lot of homework again, it's like you get an IMDb Pro account, you can do all that. You can try to build these direct relationships, but at one point you can also think to yourself, it's like, do I want to become an agency? Because that's almost what it gets like. It's like, hey, I've almost become an agency for just myself. Wouldn't it be better for me to focus on making music and then have like handing off the baton to somebody in the race that can then take it and sprint with it, So that's and I know it's a simple question that was asked, but I feel like this is it requires a quality answer. It requires a lengthy answer to really kind of adequately address it. So hopefully that's helpful. That question was from Robert. Here, Harmony chimes in. I've gotten rep deals and have new relationships and collaborators because of 2Indie sending my music to sync agencies. It's been amazing. Yeah, that's one of the things we do is like the best songs that get submitted in our community, they go not only to the agency that we bring in every month, but then they also go to our entire network and results in a lot of rep deals. We know these things take time to actually turn into placements, but I'm sure there's lots of placements that are going to be happening with the songs that have gotten rep deals over this last year. We've just started 2Indie. Like 2Indie's like a 4 or 5 month old, because we changed the name. We were started with Sync It. Our company name was Sync It to start. And now we're 2Indie, but we've been in business for about a year now. We're coming on our anniversary, our 1 year anniversary, and it's very exciting. But we're just getting started with this thing, but we know what works. So this is all just part of it. Get rep. And we have a conference we're going to have another conference in March where we're going to be bringing in a bunch of not music supervisors. We're going to bring in a bunch of agencies, those agencies that I was talking about, those rep agencies. We're going to bring in a bunch of them and give folks the opportunity to have their songs listened to by those agencies, get feedback, and we're going to put together a sampler for that as well. So the one we did in July was amazing. We had over 35 different agencies from all over North America. And I think we had a couple from the UK as well. And it was really awesome. All right. Doing a lot of talking today. All right. And this is after I was teaching a little bit earlier. We were doing this thing right now about branding called Brand Slam. And earlier I was designing a bunch of, well, not a bunch. I was designing a one sheet live in front of everybody. Graphic design is one of my jams. It's one of the things that I've done. And it's one of the things that's been really helpful for my music career is to be able to design my own, website, different assets, album covers, flyers, posts, whatever. And it was cool to dive into Canva. I called it like Captivate in Canva, and kind of dove into a bunch of that stuff, teaching some of the tricks that I know. So, but I've been doing a lot of talking today. It's fine. I love doing it. love doing the show. By the way, welcome everybody again. If you're tuning in on Facebook, you're tuning in on YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, appreciate you all, all the different sites. And it's one of the cool things we get to do in the Streamlab platform is to be able to multi-stream. Let's see. I want to do at least a few more questions here. All right, let's check this out. So this is Janine. Janine asks, and these are questions that are submitted through our chat that we have in our semi-public group. Let's see. Let me make sure I have the full question here. I can't. All right, I'm going to see. I might need to, because it has like a character limit. Shoot. You know what? I'm gonna copy and paste the last part of it, but then I'm gonna read the beginning of it. Unfortunately, it won't let me. It has a 200 character limit. Okay. So Janine asks, I'm a singer, songwriter, and producer. I have songs placed in music libraries and have placements. 3 of my songs I placed with a library. They want exclusive, but one partner left the company and they haven't been doing much since. I have 6 months left. Is it difficult to get out of a contract if needed? I've done this a couple of times. You know, I think if you do this the right way, if you do this with a polite approach, it's usually not a big deal. You don't want to make this something that you do all the time, because then you'll start to build a reputation as somebody who's just like, you know, you're kind of hopping with your tracks all over the place. And here's one thing to know too, is that it takes time. It really does take time. So I don't know how long the deal is that you're talking about, but if you're talking, especially if you're talking about a year-long deal, it can take 6 months for your songs to even get ingested into their system. I mean, when I say ingest, it means like for them to bring your tracks in, import your artwork, get your bio ready, start putting your song in different playlists. And we're not even talking about having relevant briefs come in where they can pitch your music. They can't just, you know, there might be like a playlist that they're going to send out initially when they get your music. It's like new music from XYZ agency, and they might include one of your songs or something like that. But they're not going to be doing that every month. They're going to be sending out music that is relevant to the pitches that they receive. So if your music is not relevant to those pitches, then it just might be a case where for that like amount of time that you've had the song with them, they just haven't had a relevant opportunity to pitch your music. And there's also so many times where you pitch a song and it's just not a match. You know, I've literally had happen so many times, and it can be painful sometimes. I've had it happen a number of times where a song is like locked to picture and I've been told about it. And I even one time like started telling a couple of people about something that was really exciting, and then ended up having the rug pulled out like right at the last second, which it can happen sometimes, you know, because the reality is, this is the truth. This is the honest truth, is that your song might be locked to picture, and whoever's in charge, you know, maybe if it's a big ad, there could be somebody whose son, you know, maybe one of the chair people at the company that the ad is for, their son has just learned guitar and they have a friend who's in a band and they gave them a song, and the son talks the father into putting the song in, and you know, they just come in and say, hey, this is the song that's going to go in there. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened with me, but I know for a fact that those kinds of situations do pop up. You know, there's all kinds of last minute changes that happen. So that can be a factor as well. So it's a long game. So there's no reason to pull the plug on things. But if you do really feel like it's a need, like you really need to pull these songs, then, you know, what you want to do if there's 6 months left is, this is what I would do. I'd say, hey, I know there's 6 months left on our deal. I was wondering if it might be possible for you to release me from the deal a little bit early, because there's so-and-so company that I would like to, or you could even just say like, hey, there's another company that I would like to, because they're taking a number of my songs, I would like to include this song in the songs that are going over to them. And, you know, if you present it as if they have a choice, it's usually going to be a lot better received than like you kind of demanding that they let you do what you want. So that's always been my approach with things, and I think it's really well received most of the time. I think that there is a long-term risk with doing this. I think it may be better for you to just wait out the 6 months, because hear me out, there might be a time in the future where you might actually get a placement from this company, in the next 6 months. And then if you've already told them that you're going to pull the songs, there's going to be stipulations in contracts sometimes that say, hey, it's called a sunset clause, where like they might give you the permission to pull the songs and pitch them elsewhere, but they've already been pitching your songs to some extent, perhaps. And if something comes in within a certain amount of time, they're still going to land the placement and they're still going to get paid. And you're going to get paid too, but they have the right to do that. So this is a scenario that could happen, is that, you pull the songs. And I actually know somebody who this kind of happened with not too long ago, where they pulled the songs from a deal. And then like 2 months later, when they were being repped by somebody else, the agency that had previously pitched their music, they landed something, and it was a little bit of an issue. So, and so that issue for you might be not only it's like navigating, oh, wait, I'm repped by a new company, but I just got this from this other company. Do I need to like involve the other company? Just let them know, hey, it was within the sunset clause. So just wanted to let you know about that. But then the other thing is like, oh, if they landed you a placement, wouldn't it be great to give them more music? But then you kind of in a way put it hasn't been a good thing for you to pull the music from them. And some people might not be down to like, oh, okay, but you said goodbye to us. So why are we going to take your music back? So with this, I just think what I'm trying to say here is that having some patience with it can be a really good thing. Hey, Katie likes that this is on YouTube too. Hi, Katie. I miss you. Good to see you. Yeah, Facebook, well, each of these platforms, everybody's got to hate. Some people hate different platforms. Some people like Facebook. Some people hate YouTube. Some people hate Twitter. Some people like Twitch. So, it's different strokes for different folks. And, but we're here to help everybody out. And also, we just don't know. The honest truth is the reason why we're streaming to everywhere is that it's kind of cool that we can do this. We can multi-stream using StreamYard. And also, we don't know where our audience really is. And we're trying to find more independent artists that we can help to, get their music licensed. It's one of the big missions that Sonnet and I have, is to find everybody that we can help. So I apologize. It's a little gross. I think I'm just a little bit congested here, but hopefully it's not grossing everybody out too much. This microphone's super hot, isn't it? It's like you hear every single breath, every single groan. I'm on mobile and YouTube lets me multitask easier. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, Facebook's a little weird with the phone. I agree with that. So, but glad you're here. All right, so let's keep going. There's more questions to be answered. Oh my God, I didn't realize there's so many. Let's see. I'm just going through this chat. Let me pull this down. I will get to some song feedback. I promise. I don't know how long it's going to go for, but I promise I will get to some song feedback towards the end of this. I just want to make sure that these questions that people are asking get answered. Okay, so here's another one. Tracy asks, let's drop this one in. Pretty simple question. I think this one is one that I kind of answered already. How do you get your music in the right hands? Well, the right hands is, that's a tough question, because the answer to that question is really going to depend on like what kind of music you make, because some people more specialize in certain types of music in terms of like, so there's different opportunities where different kinds of music tend to land a little bit more than others. And then there's different people and personalities and the kind of music that they like. And the whole like interpersonal stuff, the relationship stuff, like you're building relationships with human beings at the end of the day. So getting your music into the hands of people who are fans of you is the best. So people who are fans of you who have connections and can get stuff done in sync are the people that you want to connect with. Those are the right hands that you want to have your music. But who are those people? So a lot of this is it's learning who the players are. It's starting to meet the people. So there's a number of places you can go to do that. Some things I would suggest doing is becoming a friend of the Guild of Music Supervisors. It's called a friend of the Guild. It costs you $100 a year. And when you're a friend of the Guild, you get to attend tons of talks. They do talks all year round, and they're on Zoom. And you get the opportunity, they do these workshops where you get to meet so many music supervisors and get to know their personalities. You can attend different events. You could become a Basecamp member and you'll meet. Actually, if you become a Basecamp member and you are a member of ours for 12 months, you'll be introduced to 12 different agencies that could pitch your music. So you're going to get to know the people, get your music in the right hands. It's like, okay, well, who are the supervisors that might like to use my music? And then who are those people that would like to pitch my music? So those are the two people that you kind of want to get to know. Is like, well, who am I making the music for? You're making the music for the decision makers, and those are the decision makers right there. So that's in terms of getting your music in the right hands. It's really about that, and then you start to know who are the people that might be interested in pitching my music, and then it's the whole etiquette piece. It's how do you build those relationships in a way with integrity, and we talked about that a lot a little earlier, so I won't go through all that again, but that's a good question. I think these are good beginning questions about all this. What else? Let's see. Sick. Okay, here we go. Rupan, I think that's how you say it. Rupan asked a question. Let's get this question up. Oh, weird. I thought I copied it. Guess I didn't. Let's try that again. Doing the window dance here. All right, here we go. So Rupan asks, are there any libraries that are good for beats, like orchestral trap? I mean, I can assume that the big libraries have every single conceivable kind of music that anybody could ever want to use for licensing. So there's going to be some libraries that want everything, but what they usually want is they want collections of everything. So it's not going to cut it to just have one song. Typically, libraries like to have collections of songs. So what you'll typically do is, in my suggestion would be, if you have orchestral trap music that's just the best example of what you do, put together like an EP of it. Take an EP to an album. If you have 4 songs that are really good and then 8 that are kind of okay, it might be better to send them an EP to start versus sending them all 12 songs. But start pitching your music to libraries, and I would probably start with like some of the bigger ones and kind of work your way down. Because there's definitely a need for all kinds of music in libraries. But it's just a matter of building the relationship. And once you build those relationships, what happens is if your music gets signed, that's great. But a lot of times what will happen is they'll start giving you assignments of stuff that they need, that they think you can produce and pull off. So specific libraries, it's always hard for me to just like list them off, because there's a million of them. And I also don't want to ever just assume that any library that I say is going to be a good match for you. So this is part of the unfortunate part of it, is that you got to do the homework. You got to do the research, and it's part, like, there's lists out there of every single library that exists. But I would just suggest, getting your strongest songs together and then come up with that pitch idea, come up with that pitch email. And again, if you check out our boot camp, it's going to give you a lot of tips on how to initially approach decision makers in the sync world. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts on it. There is a need for all kinds of music out there. It's just a matter of like, what are the libraries that are looking for that specific kind of music? And is your music really in that genre? Is it really at the top level or close to it? Because it needs to be. All right. So this was dropped in. Chris J says, if you get a quote request that is is that guaranteed as a sync or it's not finalized? So it's not finalized. This is a great question because this is a question that comes up a lot of the time. I actually had a quote request come in the other day. And it's great because it's really exciting. What a quote request means is that they're serious. They're seriously considering using it. And they're so serious about it that they need to get specific about how much it's going to cost to clear the song. And they need to know for sure who owns it and how they can go about securing that license. So that's what a quote request is. So quote request just finalizes those details so that when they're ready to pull the trigger, and usually in these cases, they're very serious about using the song. But sometimes they may do stuff like this speculatively. So you have to be prepared for that. Just because you get a quote request doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen. But sometimes you will get information when you get the quote request. Something that comes along the lines of like, they want to use the song, but here's the quote request. Or it could be a thing where they're like, they know that they're doing an initial search and they just want to lock in some options. So you may get that intel at that time, depending on who you're working with, but you might not have that information as it's just, okay, a quote request has come in. Is this going to be okay for you? Now, a lot of times with quote requests, if you are repped by an agency, the agency may never let you know that a quote request has come in. A lot of them do. A lot of them do let you know if there's a bite that's come in on something, and they will, clear that with you and make sure that it's okay. But so, a lot of times when you sign a deal with an agency, they have the ability to work fast. They have the ability to say yes to opportunities that come in without your permission a lot of the time. Within certain parameters. Obviously there's certain sensitive subjects that I don't think any agency would really like. If it was like a super explicit scene, they would probably run that by you. But contractually, there's a lot of times in a contract where you're not given the final. It's not contingent upon you because sometimes they need to act really fast. They may. Some deals do include language. It's like, hey, we're going to make this happen. We're going to make it happen. So just be prepared there. But yeah, quote request not finalized at all. But a lot of times it means that it could be more or less. But it really just depends on the situation. So, but yeah, it's not the final signed license. You know that it's done deal when it's a license and it's signed, and sometimes you'll get paid for it before it even airs. When you get paid, you know that it's done, right? And it doesn't really matter at that point whether it even airs or not. But so I've had that happen a couple of times where I didn't even know if it was going to air or not, if they were even going to use it, but they paid me for it anyways. So I've never had a license where they give the license and then they don't use the song. But I have heard of those kinds of things happening though. All right. What next? Cool question. Like that, Chris. Thanks for the question. All right. What's next? We got a bunch in here still. Here's a good question. Is it better to offer unreleased songs? This is a good one to ask. Let me drop this in here. All right. Just getting the used to swapping out these questions here. All right. Here we go. Boom. Okay. So Esther asks, I swear I changed it. Oh my God. All right. Let's try this again. I don't think it copied it when I went over there. All right, let's see. All right, here we go. Is it better to offer unreleased songs? So the answer to that question is no. There's going to be, maybe 20 or 30% of briefs out there that you see that I've seen. And I only speak from my own experience. I don't see as many direct briefs nowadays than I used to, because I used to work for an agency. But now we partner with agencies. So I don't see like the mass number of briefs that come in. But I will say from my previous experience working at an agency that it was probably about 20 or 30% of the briefs that came in were perhaps looking for music that was newly released or unreleased. So there's going to be a certain number of opportunities that it's going to be beneficial for you to not have released the song, because in cases like that, it's where they want to claim some of the, hey, we're cool because we're actually kind of tastemakers in a way. We're helping release cool new music. And you're marrying like something that's never been heard before by anybody in the public. And you're basically marrying that to this campaign or this show. So there are going to be times where that's the case, but I would say it's not better because there's plenty of opportunity for either one. And here's another thing to consider is that if your song has less than 1,000 plays, has it really even been released? Nobody's really heard it, you know? So I've definitely heard of people pitching songs to briefs that are like, they're saying they're looking for unreleased stuff. I've definitely heard of people pitching songs that have less than 1,000 plays just for the fact that it's like, nobody's even heard this song really. So it's something worth, and that's why they will sometimes even put like songs that are under the radar could also be included in unreleased or newly released. It's kind of all the same thing. And one way that you can actually like ask sometimes if you get that brief and it's like that we're looking for unreleased stuff, you can say, hey, this song, almost nobody's heard it yet, and I can pull it if necessary. You can literally go to your distributor and pull your songs from being live if you want. I mean, I wouldn't do that for a pitch, you know, but if it landed something, you know, you could re-release it. I don't know. It's a little bit of I guess that's a bit of a gray moral area, but I think the best way to approach is just to, if you do have a direct connect with that, is just to say, hey, I've got a song that it's not unreleased, but hardly anybody's heard it. Is that going to be okay? It's okay to ask these kinds of questions when you're pitching stuff. Or what you can do too is you can, if they're looking for unreleased music and you have some unreleased music, you can send the unreleased music, but then you can also say, hey, and I've also got a couple of songs that they're not unreleased, but hardly anybody's heard them. So I decided I would put them in there as well, just in case they broaden the search. Because sometimes they'll broaden the search with things. And the broadening can have to do with like the theme. It can have to do with like the genre. It can have to do with the tempo. And it can also have to do with like, is it released or unreleased? So, and it happens all the time where the music supervisor or the agency might get additional clarification from the people that are actually working on it. What seems to be working? What could be a better match than what is currently locked to picture? Because every single thing has temp music. So they're always trying to one up the temp music that's in there. Or if they found something, they're always like trying to one up what's in there a lot of the time. That's why your song can get bumped sometimes, you know, because they're always looking for the best thing. So that's my answer to the question. Is it better to offer unreleased music? No, it's not. It's just, there's opportunity for both. So many good questions here. All right, I think we're getting closer to the end of this. All right, I'm enjoying this. Does anyone know how to... Okay, cool, let's do this. I'll answer two more, and then I think I'll switch over to listening to some songs. Let me do this. Let's see. Let's drop this in here. Save it. All right, so Julian asks, does anyone know how to get royalties when the film with your music is at a film festival? How to get royalties. Now, this is my understanding of things, is that in the United States, public film, like in a theater, film performances are not considered public performances, and they are not, the collection societies do not collect royalties for those. So my short answer to that would be that there is no royalties that you're going to receive from that, from a film festival. Now, if there was, I'm just talking about theoreticals, is because you hear about this, it's like, oh, okay, there's touring artists and stuff like that, and if they have a show, you can actually like report your own songs that have been played at this concert hall. If there was a film screening that was at more like a music performance center, I don't know, it just seems like a stretch though, you know? It seems like a real stretch to report that. I would just ask your collection society if that's possible, but I'm pretty certain that the answer to that is you can't collect royalties from that. What you want to hope is that the film gets into distribution. If the film gets into mass distribution and gets on TV, then you're going to qualify for performance royalties. And then the royalties, you obviously want to negotiate with the filmmaker some type of a master sync fee, because that's really in reality because films in the US do not get performance royalties. The royalties you're going to get are the master sync that comes up front. So you want to make sure to negotiate for that. But yeah, internationally, different story. I think there are performance royalties in cinema for different countries, but obviously the rules apply differently to every country, and how they collect is different. And I'm definitely not a foremost expert on that, so I will not address that. But I do know that other countries, it's a different story. So hopefully that changes in the US so that those cinema performances can be included as public performances. Actually, that would have been really great for me, because I have a song that was written last year that's been in a independent documentary for since and it happened about a year ago, that the premiere of the film, it actually screened at the Chinese Theater and on the Sunset Strip and in Hollywood, California last year. And this film has been in festivals across the country and in other international, like other countries as well. But it's been going strong, still going into different festivals and things like that. It's really hitting. I think it must be like 60 or 70 or 80 different film festivals this movie has been screened in. And they're hoping to get distribution with it. But it would have been great for me, because, but we haven't realized any, and that's another reason why I can feel pretty certain about this as well. But I knew this before we ever landed that. That's why we negotiated a fair master sync fee for the use of the music. And I'm glad that we did that, because we felt fairly compensated for the upfront payment that we got. And then, we don't feel as bad that we don't get anything on the back end. So, but yeah, that was my experience with that. All right. Okay, let's see. I said I would answer one more question, so let's do that. That question feels pretty self-explanatory. Let me see if there's anything else. People directly pitching their music in here. Kind of funny. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. There's this is a good question to end on, because there's a few different parts to it. Let's see. And this is from Leilani. So thank you for the question here. Let's save this and let's pop this up. Okay, so Leilani asks, how do you know when your song production is up to sync standards? Should I be hiring higher end production people? Is my singing, is the subject matter, the real rock instruments? So there's a few different parts to this question that I want to address. So Leilani, your song production is up to sync standards when, and here's some indications that your music is up to standards: when you get responses from decision makers when you pitch your music. That what I would say is like really, when it comes down to it, that's like actually the indicator. So if you have pitched your music and you haven't gotten any response, if you send it to like one or two agencies, that's one thing. But if you send your music to a bunch of people and nobody responds, that could have something to do with it, is the quality of the music. So the things you want to think about, like when you're embarking on your sync career, first things you want to do is you want to get your music in front of people that can actually have the opportunities to pitch your stuff for TV, ads, film. If you are having a hard time doing that, then the song quality could have something to do with that. Now, how do you get the quality up to the level? And just talking in general, what you want when you're making music, and this applies to not just sync, it applies to the artist world, applies to everything in the music industry, is whatever genre of music you're making, your music needs to feel competitive in that genre. So when I say feel competitive, I feel like for the most part, it's are you radio ready? Does your music feel like if it was put, and you have to be honest about this, if it was put into a playlist of professional songs in your genre, does your song feel like it fits into the playlist? If the answer is yes, then you're hitting the mark for that genre. And sometimes it's a matter of like, oh, the genre of music that I'm in is maybe not that much in demand. So that can be a thing sometimes too. But I think generally you want to be thinking about this. It's like, okay, what are my references? What bucket does my music fit into? Because decision makers like to be able to categorize music. If it's hard for them to categorize your song, then it can be hard for them to envision what the use of that music typically would be. It's not to say you can't just blow somebody's mind with something original that you've done that feels like it's cross genre. It happens all the time. But I'm just saying, like, people do like to be able to place a song in a way, and not place in terms of sync, but place it in terms of genre. Like, what is this song? What songs are the references for this? And who are the artists and the tracks that they have made that kind of feel like they fit into this place? It's like we're trying to, when we're listening to stuff, and we're trying to, because we're using music as a tool. We're using music as a tool to help elevate the picture. And we're saying we're talking about just the people, the music supervisors and the ad agencies. What they're doing is they're looking for the best fits. So it really is part of their job to know, okay, this is this kind of a song, and therefore it would probably work well in these kinds of contexts, and so on and so forth. So whether you need to hire higher end production people, I don't know what a higher end production person is. I'm assuming that means you need to pay them more, or somebody who has you have to be a little sensitive about this, but it's like who has a better track record, I guess, has like a track record of success in licensing. Because like, just because you pay somebody more doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be better. And I will also say this, just because somebody has a plaque sitting on their wall doesn't necessarily mean anything either. Actually, I got ripped off in my entire music career. The person that ripped me off the most is the person that I worked with who had the most awards hanging up in their studio. So it just goes to show you, and I am not the only person who's had that experience, believe me. But it just goes to show you that it really doesn't necessarily make a difference. Actually, it's interesting. Over the last like 5 or 10 years, I've seen a lot of highly accomplished producers who are kind of clueless about licensing, and yet their fees are exorbitant, and they really don't know how to deliver what is necessary to lock the picture. They don't know how to make music with sync in mind. And it's really like trying to teach an old dog new tricks, and teaching an old dog who doesn't want to learn the trick either. It's like they know because they've done it so long in the artist world in their way, and they're the expert. They're the person who has the expertise. They're the person with the recognition and the awards and the big fees that they can, what's the word? That they can charge, So, so just because they charge more doesn't mean shit. Could be your singing. It really, honestly, without hearing your music, it's hard to say, I do think that if your music is not, if you want to be pitching your music for licensing and you're not getting responses from decision makers that you like the answers to, I think you need to potentially reevaluate everything. The songwriting, the production, who's singing the vocal. Obviously, the singer on any the vocal on any vocal song is probably the most important part of the production. So if it's the wrong match, if the vocal's pitchy, if the attitude is off, some singers are great in certain genres and they're terrible at others. And it's just a fact. And also some singers are great at tapping into certain emotions, but other ones are just, it's not convincing. And sometimes it's a psychological thing. I've worked with artists that they're really good at that gut wrenching, like terrible, painful breakup, heartbreak kind of stuff. But you ask them to sing a happy song and you are not convinced in the least. And maybe it has something to do with they're just not living a life that they enjoy and they're not happy and there's some kind of disconnect there. It's really hard for them. But then the honest truth is sometimes it's just really hard for some people emotionally to authentically allow themselves to tap into that innocent, that happy, that unadulterated and unfiltered positive view of the world. And that's okay. Everybody's got a different creative journey and that's everybody's got their process with that. So I don't mean to put anybody down on all that stuff. I've certainly had my own. For the longest time, it was really hard for me to write anything that was happy. Just because of it, and I think more than anything, it was just my life was not looking the way I wanted it to look. So it's really honestly hard for me to tap into that. And also I'd never even really tried. So I just thought I was being cheesy, but turns out I can do it. It's actually what I do best, honestly. Well, I don't know exactly what I do best. I like to think that I don't know yet. And I think like having a beginner's mindset with this is also just makes it more fun. I've had the privilege of rapping on national TV. I've had the privilege of singing different kinds of songs, and it's doing like the Monster Mash. It was a Monster Mash, and doing all different kinds of things, different voices and stuff. And I suggest if you like trying different things that you use licensing as an opportunity to explore those things because you never know what you could be good at. But that's just my thing as a vocalist because that's what I mostly do. Well, it's what I do best in the studio is write and sing. I'm definitely a capable producer in other aspects as well, but we all do things better than others. And my zones of mastery around vocals and all that stuff. So that's a little bit of insight with what I can bring to the picture in terms of all that. So. Let's see. Anything else I want to talk about with this? The real rock instruments. Yeah, sometimes the instrumentation is what gives it the I think whatever it is, you have to give it authenticity. Your music has to, for the genre that you're making music in, it needs to feel real. And if it doesn't feel real, there's going to be a disconnect there. So yeah, sometimes it's the subject matter, the themes. So sometimes it's like there's too many themes. Actually, a lot of the songs that I was writing when I was first starting to try to write music for licensing, I was actually writing 2 or 3 different songs in the same song. It's like, wait, the song's about heartbreak. Oh, wait, the song's about like, growing old. And then the song's about like what it feels like to be at home. It's possible to have all 3 of those songs in the same song and have it feel very disconnected. But then it's also possible to have it be about like heartbreak and about like, it's possible to have multiple themes to a song, but if you have too many stories, you have too many themes, it can actually be detrimental. It can feel a little bit, what's the word? I like to use the word keyword salad because I think that's what a lot of my songs were when I was first starting out with making music for licensing. I thought, oh, okay. So if we make something, the top songs that are used, it's like you write a song about being together and you write a song about feeling good and you write a song about best day and you put all of those things in the same song, then it's going to make it better. And it's obviously not the case. So especially when it comes to ads, the simpler, the better. So it really can depend sometimes too on like what are the opportunities that you're trying to set your music up for. And the answer to those questions can help you decide, well, what is the subject matter that's going to tend to work? Because if you think about it too, at the end of the day, we write music for an audience. Who is your audience? In the case of if you're writing music for people who want to drink Corona on the beach, then there's a certain expectation of the mindset that they want to set for those people who want to kick back, crack open a beer, drop a lime in it, and watch the sunset. It's a certain vibe, and there's going to be certain kinds of music that is not compatible with that. So if that's the kind of song you want to make, then you have to put yourself, the audience for you in that case is actually that moment. It's maybe not even a person. It's like a moment is your audience. So kind of a trip, right? It's a situation. It's an emotion. And that's your audience. But the person who relates to that and wants that is also, and who are those people? You know, those people are probably stressed out, overworked, people who are ready to take a break, live for the weekend a little bit, right? Those kind of folks, everyday people, right? You know, I could use a break myself sometimes. I definitely could use a break. This has been a really busy year for me. I don't know. I need a vacation. I haven't had a vacation in like, I can't wait. When's the last time I actually had a vacation? It's been a while. One thing in the music industry, it's like, it's kind of fun too. Cause, you know, just as a side note, Sana and I started this company about a year ago, and the difference between working for somebody and running your own company, it's a big difference, because the thing that's kind of exciting about it is that, I mean, it's obviously like the more you put into it, the more you get back. But also, here's the awesome thing is that Sonnet and I have realized that the more we put into it, the more you all get out of it. And it's really just this beautiful thing where it's like we want to just be showing up like all the time for it. So it's tough. It can get tough sometimes to balance out I gotta. And for me, like, you know, there'll be a day where like I'm just like I'm out. I'm out. I have to have at least one day off a week. But that's why we love doing these things. We're always cooking something up. We're always working on something. If you're not on our email list, it's an invitation to just jump in and just be connected with us. You can go to 2indie.com. We have a free 90-minute boot camp on licensing that you can check out. It's totally free. We also have a private community called Licensing Basecamp. I'd love you to be a part of. You can join us for free for 30 days. And there's real opportunity in there. And there's real community too. Everybody loves each other, all help each other to get better. And if you like what has happened on this call tonight, it's like a lot of the same of that, where we offer support, we offer logistics, we offer answers to questions, and real solutions too, in terms of connecting people together that can help each other to overcome the obstacles that they may face, like some of the obstacles that were talked about here, like by this question that was asked by Leilani. It's you know, how do you know your production's up to sync standards? Should I be hiring higher end production people? Is my singing an issue? Is the subject matter all over the place? Is it focused enough? Is it focused on the right thing? Is the instrumentation right? You know, these are all questions that we are answering kind of all the time in that group. So, all right. So that was awesome. An hour and a half of answering questions. That was awesome. So I want to at least spend a half hour here listening to some music. I love this. I think actually I answered every single fucking question that was in there. So I don't have, by the way, this thing, I used to have this, I don't think you can hear it anymore. So somebody told me that that you can't hear that anymore, that the battery in it's like bad or something like that. Let me know if you can hear it. But I just wanted to, I wasn't expecting to be able to answer every single question that was in there, but we did. Answered all of them. And we did as a group. I'm saying we, it's like the royal we, right? Me and the chat. So, but let's get to let's listen to some music now. You could hear it. Good. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was something weird. There was like some kind of noise cancellation thing with Zoom where all of a sudden nobody could hear it anymore. It was like it was kind of tuning it out intentionally or something like that. Let's do it again. All right. So let's see how many songs we have in here, because that's going to make the decision for me of whether I need to keep the ticker down there at the bottom or I need to pull it. Let's see. Submissions. Where is it? I always have a hard time finding the spreadsheet. Give me a second here. And let me know in the meantime, how are you doing? How are you feeling about the holidays? Holidays are coming up. Holidays can be a little bit of a stressful time. It can also be, you know, for some folks that are a little more isolated, it can be kind of a challenging time too. So, you know, just want to check in with everybody. How are you doing? You have plans for Thanksgiving? Are you excited about certain dishes, seeing certain people again? Are there certain people that you're kind of dreading seeing again? That can be the case too. Let's see. What's the, here we go. Found it. Okay. All right, let's do this. All right, so someone requested some KZ. Is that you, Kelsey? Is it Ivan or Kelsey? Let's see. Oh wow. Is this all from today? Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah, we have some songs in here. Okay. So I don't know. It looks like, yeah, these were from 2 days ago. So it looks like a bunch of stuff was dropped in for Sonnet. We're not going to have time to get to those songs. It looks like there's a bunch of stuff in there. I'm actually going to move my desk up because my legs are, I kind of can't feel my legs anymore. I'm exaggerating. It's just a little stiff. All right. We do have some songs in here. This is great. All right. So let's listen to some stuff. So is Johanna still here? I want to play the songs from people that are here active and in the chat. I see you there. There you are. Okay, cool, cool. I'm going to cue this up. And if you want, if there's anything you'd like to say about the track, I'm actually going to pull down this banner because I think we have enough songs already to play that'll last us throughout the half hour. All right, let's do this. Okay, cool. So you're here. If there's anything you'd like to say in terms of setting this up for me while I'm listening to it, feel free to drop it into the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to give it a listen here. Voice of East. It looks like it's mixed and mastered, experimental. All right, cool, cool. And usually I'll just give like some generalized feedback in terms of like, application for licensing. And sometimes I'll just give just some generalized feedback. You got to remember, I'm one opinion in many opinions that are out there. Take what I say with a grain of salt and, keep making more music. And that goes to everybody. All right. So this song's called Voice of East. I like that you're using disco. Nice job. All right. So let's pull this up and hopefully it works. It's a little clunky here. And I'm not going to lie, in StreamYard, it's a little clunky getting the audio sharing going, but I will get it going. There's a little trick with like muting the microphone that I have to do every time. It's literally like 10 clicks that I have to do to get this going, but let's go for it. Here, let's see. Present the music. I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to share this tab. Share the audio. Okay, so that's in there. Y'all can see that. And you just let me know if you don't hear the music for whatever reason. But otherwise, I'm just going to give this a spin here. All right. Can you hear this? Could you hear the music? I thought that was really cool. So I'm going to give an applause because apparently people can hear it here. Yeah, Johanna, that was really dope. Is that you singing? Because you have a very distinct and unique and cool voice that I feel like could have a lot of application to licensing. It's just a matter of finding the right balance with everything. And I feel for this, it kind of gives me the chills a little bit when I was listening to it at first. Felt a little spooky. There's kind of like a mystical, almost new age kind of vibe with it. It wasn't like full blown new age, but it felt like it was like marrying Middle Eastern international flair with like new age and almost this the voice as like an effect, almost like almost like a sound effect. Just very strong vocals over the top of it. And it would be interesting to hear, like, what if your voice was more part of a stronger instrumental concept, and something that was more blended in, something that had a little bit more rhythmic thrust to it. And it felt like it was a little too floating, and I feel like for licensing, there could be some, I mean, every song there's potential, right? But like, how often are they going to be looking for this specific kind of music? I think it's a very specific ask, right? So if that's the case, your opportunities might be limited versus, but I think your voice has, anytime somebody has a unique voice, there's potential in a number of different ways. You could take, honestly, there's probably clips in this in the stems of this song that a rapper might like to use in making a beat. I'm not a rapper, but like some rappers make beats, but like, but a beat maker might like to use part of your vocal. There was some of that stuff where it felt like it was almost like backwards too. Like it was reversed. And I'm curious, did you actually reverse the vocal on some of that? Because it was really cool, but it could also just be the language that you were speaking too. That was very, very interesting, I think. So yeah, I would really suggest, my suggestion to you is whether you stick around in our public free group or you join our base camp, to just jump in and collaborate with some people. I think that you've got some unique gifts that you bring to the table that I think people would be excited to. It's like, oh, there's nobody, I can tell you for sure that there's nobody in our licensing base camp community that has this kind of a voice, this very unique style of singing. And it could be just a very interesting texture and a very interesting, it's just a new dimension to people's work. But yeah, so, and I don't say this all the time. It's like, but anytime I hear something, I'm like, oh, you don't hear that every day. And that's different, can be really cool, So again, this particular song in its incarnation that it's incarnation, it's like a little mystical thing, I guess, a little pun, but in this the version of the song, it feels a little rough. It feels like it's going to be a tough sell for general pitching, but there are going to be some specific times where a song like this could be what they need. But I think more than anything, I'm just very excited for the superpower that you have to have that voice. And there's also just like, it's not just the voice, but it's also the language that you're bringing into it and the style of the singing that is very unique. And I think could be very cool to work with others, again, like it doesn't matter if you work with us or you work with other people out there. There's a lot of communities out there. But I would suggest just starting to collaborate more, especially collaborate with beat makers and especially collaborate with other top liners. I think would be a good move for you. Just my 2 cents. Again, I apologize. I'm just a little congested here. Hopefully it doesn't gross everybody out. But thanks. That was great. That was fantastic. Let's see who's up next. So let me know if you're here and you put a song in today. That's what I want to know. If you're here and you put a song in today, I want to know, and let me know what your name is so I can look you up. Otherwise, I'm going to start going down the list here. Is Christopher Jackson here? Let me know if you're here. I think that was Chris J from earlier. Are you still here, Chris? I'm here, and yes. Oh, yeah. So Chris is here. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to try my best to get through to everybody's song who's here, because it looks like there was another 6 songs that were submitted. I'm going to try to get through to everybody, or get through the submissions of everyone, I think is what I was trying to say. Hopefully I'm getting through to you. It's funny. I've been talking all day. What can I say? All right. This is Chris J All Day featuring Gates and Cartier. Thank God I survived. All right, let's check it out. Again, if there's anything you'd like to say to set this up, feel free to drop it in the chat, and can kind of help me to know where you're coming from with all this. But otherwise, I'm going to give this a listen here. Let's do it. Share the screen. And there we go. Gotta mute my mic.
Yeah. Shit, who would have ever thought it? Especially how we started. Came from the bottom, man, I ain't gonna quit regardless. Cause I ain't never been one to give up easy. All cause somebody ain't believe me. I use that shit to fuel me. Niggas act like they knew me. Nah, you know the old me. Say hello to the new me. I use that shit to fuel me. Niggas act like they knew me. Nah, you know the old me. Say hello to the new me. Now you know niggas gon' doubt. I put money on it, made my own route. Cause I'm still hungry and I want it all. And you know niggas gon' hate. I double down on it. Niggas wanna play when they see you eating and they wanna ball. Just wait till they see the new me. Just wait till they see the new me.
Sorry for the delay. It always feels so awkward. Again, it like takes like 10 seconds for me to get from playing the song to being able to actually respond to it. So, but this is dope. I love this. So the flow's great on this. For me, if I'm honest, and you know, I feel like the way the song is structured, I think it's great for licensing. I feel like the structure is really good. The structure is really solid. The pacing of the song, there's different parts to the song. A lot of times what you'll hear is like, you'll have like an urban song, you'll have a rap song that just kind of goes and it's kind of the same pace throughout. But there's some really cool stuff that kind of kicks in that kind of double time, the thing that kind of drives it forward. And then obviously you've got some hooks in here. It's not just you're rapping through the whole thing. There's something that you can really grab hold of. And I think this is solid writing. The thing that I think this could use a little work with is the track production. And for me specifically, a couple of things that are kind of popping out for me as I'm listening to it is this kind of belly, kind of swirly thing. It's a little distracting for me, and I feel like it's a little unnecessary. And it's kind of almost making me feel like I'm in a washing machine a little bit. And I'm I'll have to tell you, I'm a little more sensitive to that kind of stuff than most people. For the noise canceling headphones, I can't wear those at all because I get seasick, but it's like, it kind of gives me a slight amount of that kind of vibe with it. Also, here's something to note is that the high frequency stuff, you gotta be a little careful with that, because those types of instruments are the things that can draw undue attention to the song when something important is trying to be conveyed on screen. And it makes it harder for somebody who might like to use your song otherwise to use it. So that's a little piece of feedback there on the what do you call it, on the instrumental production. The other thing I was going to say is perhaps a little more complexity and levels with the production. I love the ideas here in the production, are really cool, but it's like, can we get those sounds a little more high impact? Can we get the drums really kind of driving a little more? Can we maybe even work in like some synths or something, like when those heavier sections come in, to just kind of let that dynamic really kind of explode a little bit more? Because the potential is there for a song like this to maybe even be used in like a sports commercial, or like an apparel commercial, or a sports beverage kind of thing. But I think in its current incarnation, it doesn't quite hit as hard as it needs to, but the potential's there. And I think that the writing is really good on this. And again, I love your voice. I don't know if that's you with the flow there, but I think it's good. Like this is a good song idea, and it's just about the track execution for me. And then obviously you want a good mix and master on it. But great job. Love it. I love it. Yeah. Going strong here. Okay, so let's see. We've got a number of songs here, and I want to try to get through them all before the start of the hour. So we're going to play a little bit of speed mode here. but I love doing this. This is great. It's great to listen. And the thing I love about this most is just like getting to meet new artists and hear cool new music. Like, it's great. It's like, just soaked in a whole lot of game. Awesome. Glad you're here. Welcome. Yeah, and we're getting close to the end of all this, but anybody who's tuning in a little later, you can always catch a replay. We have it up on YouTube. We're gonna have it on Twitch, and I think you can replay all those. It's also in our Facebook group, which you can replay as well. And I actually think you can replay in Twitch. Actually, you can replay everywhere, so you can catch the replay because we answered a bunch of questions. There were a bunch of questions that have been asked in our public group, and it's been fun to go through those and go in depth on that stuff. But I want to listen to some more music. Let's keep going here. Thank you for the hello and letting us know you're here. Let's check out what's going on next. Leslie, are you here? Oh, I see Madera. You're here. So let's play your song next. And I saw you too there, Stacy. Don't worry. Everybody who's here that has submitted a song today, I will get to your song before the top of the hour. I promise. Maybe a little over the top of the hour, but I'm going to try to get through everything here. I don't want to be here until 9:00. So, my time. So focus. All right, here we go. Let's get this set up. Oh, awesome. Thanks for dropping a little some. Let's see. What's the song? Oh, here it is. It's a YouTube link. There we go. Let's share that and mute my mic, and then I'll be able to play it. Yeah, I have to stay a little focused there to get through all the fucking windows to get back to here, but I apologize. That was great, man. That was great. I apologize. I have to assume you're a man. I don't mean to do that. Sorry I do that sometimes, but this is great. I think this is super pro, and I love your presentation on YouTube is great too. I like the little meter thing. It kind of gives it like a dynamic thing. It's a little bit of a twist for an instrumental. It's almost like a lyric video for an instrumental, in a way. I think it's good. Like, and this could work, and you could make albums of this kind of music and potentially work with libraries if you're not already doing that. Another thing you could do with this, I feel like this is a totally top lineable track too. So a lot of times, and Sonnet and I talk about this quite frequently, that the vocal version of a song can actually sell the instrumental in cases. So it could never hurt to align yourself with some great top liners, especially if you're making this quality of music. You're going to be able to attract equal talent in terms of the quality of the top liners that you could collaborate with on stuff. So I don't know. It could be better if you had a vocal version of this and then you had the instrumental is just going to be dope and hold its own. The other thing I was thinking was, as I was fast forwarding through it, and this is just, if I was doing this, I would look because what you're doing is, as a decision maker, imagine if I'm like a music supervisor or a ad agency, like an integrated producer, somebody's looking for music for an ad. So I'm in there and I like the vibe of this, but I want like the third level of it. I want the kitchen sink version of it. And I'm fast forwarding and I'm not noticing any dynamic change from quote unquote chorus to chorus, that's going to be an issue, and I'm going to next it, right? So I think thinking with this, there's obviously going to be like what's level 1, what's level 2, and what's level 3 here. So if it's a little copy pasted, this might be a good opportunity if you end up working with a top liner, be a good opportunity for you to level up with these, level up chorus number 2, level up chorus number 3, and then you're going to have a piece of music that's really dynamic, so that if they like level 1, they're going to, if they need something that's stronger, then they'll be able to go to level 3 and kind of get the bigger version of it. Because a lot of times you'll see, and I like to call them scene changes. It's like in an ad, there'll be a halfway point where the product enters in and saves the day, and the music shifts dramatically in some kind of way. Sometimes it's an entirely different song. There'll be like some kind of sad little thing that happens, and the music, like they spill the fucking soda all over the carpet or something like that, and then here comes the whatever, the cleaner, and then all of a sudden the music's like triumphant and all that stuff, and it's taking care of business, and it's getting that stain out of the couch or whatever it is on the counter. Like just an example, the paper towel commercial too. You spill something, then the paper towel comes in, and all of a sudden the music changes. So and that's like an exaggerated version of scene change, but sometimes it's a lot more subtle than that. But you want to be thinking about that. Like, how can my music do that? How can my music have these like stop moments and then change and shift into an entirely different gear? So, but this is really solid stuff. I love the track. And I think you'll be able to attract quality top liners with making this kind of music. So yeah, that's all I got to say there. Yeah. But it's totally pitchable as is, and I would suggest if you just like cranking out instrumentals, build a relationship with a good library, and they will give you assignments of different kinds of rock instrumental tracks to make, blues instrumental tracks to make. They'll have you making albums of the stuff. And they'll be giving you a lot of the same feedback that I'm giving you in terms of like, oh, okay, so what's level 2 and what's level 3, and then you're going to have to learn about cut downs and all that stuff, which is not really my my level of expertise, but because I don't really have a ton of stuff in libraries. That's not really my thing. Okay, so I know that Stacy, are you still here? I think Faketa is still here, but let me know if you're here. Faketa, Stacy, is Bob Olson here? Is Leslie Noel here? Let me know who's here, because I want to play the music I want to play songs of people that are here, preferably first. Sorry, I don't see it just shows me Facebook user. Whoever just dropped that in. And I know there's a lag. That's another thing that's kind of annoying about this, is that there's like a 15-second delay. Bob Olson's here. I'm here. I don't know who I'm is. So I'm just going to show you what I see. I just see Facebook user. So if you're on Facebook, tell me who you are. Thank you, Stacy. I thought that was you. But we're going to play. So Stacy, you're next. Bob, we're going to play you next. We're going to play you right now, actually. Stacy, you're coming in after. And then if Faketa's here and if Leslie's here, please let me know, because I'd love to play your songs. All right. So we're going to start with Bob. If you want to drop anything that you'd like to say about the track while I'm listening to it, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'm just going to give you some general feedback here. Let me get this all queued up and ready to go. SoundCloud link should be good. All right. This is Hanogi Stone. Song's called Favorite. Oh, cool. This is a recent track. Nice. Are we the first people to get a chance to listen to it? Let's get this all queued up and ready to go. Queued up on screen, that is. Let's see. Here we go. I'm going to share that, and then I'm going to shut myself up here, and then I'll be able to play it.
I just got here about an hour ago. The drummer had the kick and now the band's playing. Had a really good time. Everybody's sort of feeling fine. sunshine, soft breeze, early in the morning. That feeling, it might be misunderstanding. Pinwheel in the sky.
All right. Hey, Bob, that's cool artwork there. So my thoughts are, I like there's some different textures in here that are cool. I like your artwork. You're using some interesting juxtaposing elements here, and I like it. The thing is, here's the things that I think are just when we're talking about doing EDM and doing dance music with sync in mind, there's a few things to think about. So first thing is just to know, and it's just a fact, dance and EDM music is, for some reason, it's like country music, unless you're making stuff that's, suitable for Yellowstone and shows like that. Which it seems like it's kind of a cool and exciting thing that's happening. Hopefully more country music gets used in licensing. But for some reason or another, EDM dance music, there's really not as much of a, there's not as many uses of it for some reason. And I don't know exactly why that is, but it just seems to be the case. So just know that you're a little bit at a disadvantage with that. So in those cases, you want to marry dance music with other genres a lot of the times, like pop dance, it's like rock dance, it's like indie dance music, it's like lo-fi dance. It's like, is there some type of like, it might be cool to explore. I'm just giving you ideas of things that you could explore. So, and then just to talk about the song in terms of, and again, this is all in terms of sync, but it's also, I feel like this is something that could also apply to just, the artist world. I feel that this, for modern production, this is a very sustainy production. So a couple things about sustainy. It's like there's a lot of sustainy elements like that have a lot of sustain to them. And in modern productions, you tend to have instruments that are more staccato, instruments that more, and a lot of space. This song does not have very much space at all in it. It's very densely packed. There's a lot going on, and more is not always more, and I think especially is still the case here in today's, modern production. There is, so a lot of high frequency stuff. Like, remember I was talking about earlier, that kind of swirly kind of high frequency stuff. There's a lot of that going on here as well. And I think what it's doing is, here's another thing that sustainy elements do. And it's something that I don't need to write it on my wall because I know it by heart by now. But for anybody who tends to use stuff that use a lot of stuff with sustain in it, especially if you're making impactful music. And I would argue that dance music, it has like a lot of rhythm to it and it has like an impact. If you're making impactful music, you have to know that sustain is the enemy of thrust. It's the enemy of punch. And it's the enemy of rhythm. So if you're making music that the backbone of that music is rhythm, then you're going to want to be very careful about the elements that you're bringing in that have a lot of sustain. And you're going to want, when you do bring them in, you're going to want to place them in the right place in the mix so they feel like they're ear candy and not like something that's kind of, hey, look at me, I'm here and I'm still here and I'm still here 10 seconds later. So it can be a little bit too much. Now the vocals, I feel like I like the vocal. There's an interesting tone to the vocal. I think, in dance music, there's a certain amount of freedom that you get in order. I feel like this vocal feels like it doesn't have as much processing and maybe effects that a typical dance song would have. So, I would say to be creative, use a little auto tune, use a little wideners and a little play around with some delays, get it vibed out a little bit, maybe even play with a vocoder, I think that there's going to be a lot of, but it's hard to do all that when there's, and I think this is another thing with the sustain is that it really kind of takes the attention away from the vocal entirely. Whereas I think it might be better to have a song that has a little stronger rhythmic presence, less sustainy elements so that the vocal can really cut through and do cool things. So that's my thoughts. And then there was one other thing I wanted to say. There was a synth choice that felt a little new agey to me. Felt a little bit like, oh, this belongs on some kind of meditation record versus something that I would hear in in a club. As far as like dance music. So I think it's some of this is like, but hopefully this is coming across. I'm supportive of this. I feel like the sounds that you're bringing together, they feel like they fit in the right song together. It's just, for me, the emphasis on certain instruments in the production. It's a mix thing. I feel like your drums are really going to come through. Your bass is really going to come through a lot better once you start to put those sustaining elements more in their place. And, but it's also the parts as well, like maybe make them not as sustainy. And it could also have to do with, maybe choosing a different synth patch in some cases that they don't feel like they kind of take up that again, that kind of like almost new agey kind of taking over the track kind of thing that can happen. So, but thanks, Bob, for submitting the track. Appreciate it. We're going to move on to Stacy Snyder. Let's see. Moving right along. I know we're going over time. That's okay. I always say speed mode, and it's always so hard for me to do. Let's see. Stacy. Yeah, again, just drop in the chat if there's anything you'd like me to address specifically. I'll try my best to do that, but otherwise I'm gonna just give you some general feedback. Let's play this, and then Faketa, you're next, and then if you're still here, Leslie, let me know. And if you're in Facebook, just say, hey, it's Leslie, I'm here. Because again, Facebook doesn't show me your name at all. All right, so let's do this, Stacy. Here we go. Feeling the flow. All right.
I'm done with stress days. I'm through with dark days. I used to stress days. I'm done with fight a hurricane. I'm done with stress days. I'm through with dark days. I used to live inside a hurricane. Felt like there was no escape. Everything was feeling out of place. I just wanted to run away. Hey, better every day. And now I can say, these are my best days. There's nothing better than this. I'm done with stress days. Ain't no more parties to miss. I'm gonna get up and go. I'm getting ready for the show. Ain't nobody gonna stop me from feeling the flow. Sometimes the rain comes rolling in again, and it feels like I just can't win. But then a voice from deep inside of me breaks me open and sets me free. Hey, better every day. Myself, no more feeling so low. I'm getting ready for the show. Ain't nobody gonna stop me from feeling the flow. These are my best days. There's nothing better than this. I'm done with stress days. Ain't no more party with miss.
All right. Hey, Stacy. So, cool. This is cool. I like the message with this. I actually really liked the hook when it first came in. That was one thing I noticed, because the reason why I replayed the beginning was you had this great hook. I loved the melody, and then the second time around, you changed the melody, and I was like, that kind of made me scratch my head a little bit. I was like, wait, the melody was good. I think a lot of times what people will do, and when I say people, I just know that this is something I used to do all the time, that if I write more melodies, if I change the melody, it's going to be better. And I think if you write a good melody, part of your job as a writer is to teach the person who's listening to your song what the melody of your song is. But if you're changing the melody every time, it gets to a point where it's harder for somebody to, it's just mentally to establish, oh, okay, there's a pattern here, and this is the pattern. I liked the pattern the first time, but now the pattern's different, and okay, and now what's going to happen? So it was just those. So that first line, I really liked the melody, and then, and I'm talking about this intro kind of part. So that kind of had me scratching my head a little bit, just as a writer. And as a listener too. I mean, I'm a writer, and I also love music, and I listen to music all the time. So, as a writer, that was something if I was writing this song, I'd be like, I would have probably repeated that because it was a really good hook to begin with. And then, so for me, I like these lyrics a lot. I like I think that the vocal approach is pretty good, but I feel like there's a mismatch with the instrumental production. The instrumental production it doesn't feel like it matches the tone of the vocal. In terms of, like, when I'm saying tone, I mean like not necessarily the notes you're singing, but the attitude and the theme of what the attitude you're bringing to the vocal and the theme of the song. This feels to me, it actually kind of, I was trying to, again, it's like we're always like throwing songs into buckets. It's like, what bucket did this remind me? And I think for me, and this is like it's a good, I mean, I liked it in the same way that I liked, like, for example, like the band that kind of came to mind for me was Poe. And I reference this artist all the time. It's kind of gloomy, like gloomy late 90s pop rock. And it kind of feels like that's kind of where the instrumental is sitting for me. So I was curious, anytime I hear this, I'm kind of like, well, what are your references here? So that's always going to be the thing that kind of pops into my head when I'm like, oh, what was, what were they shooting for sound wise? And then it might help me to understand, oh, okay, that's what you were going for. So if that's the case, if you were going for this, then this is why this instrumental doesn't really feel like it fits in there. Now, if you were going for that, there might be a brief that literally says like, hey, we're looking for something that feels like it's from the late 90s a little bit, but it has kind of like this strange thing where like it's more of a positive lyric with kind of a gloomy instrumental. This might be perfect, right? But to me, the instrumental feels a little gloomy. It also feels a little like the drop when it comes, it feels a little bit, when that acoustic guitar comes in, it doesn't feel, you're saying Dua Lipa meets Bruno Mars. It doesn't really hit me that way. It doesn't hit me that same way. It feels retro, but it doesn't feel retro in the way that those artists approach it. It's not like a cool 70s 80s kind of thing. It's more of a, for me anyways, I kind of place that sound in like a almost like a late 90s early 2000s kind of like a gloom rock kind of thing, gloom pop kind of thing. Some of it might have to do with the chord changes, but I think more than anything, it's just it's the mood of the instrumental that is kind of fighting against it's like having a little bit of a battle with what's happening with the vocal. Is just that's just my 2 cents on it. But I like this top line. I think the top line's good. I think the vocal's good. It's just it maybe feels like it's on top of the wrong instrumental a little bit. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Keep making music, and you're doing a lot right here. So, it's to be commended. And I hope everybody knows it's like, again, it's just my 2 cents. So, get feedback from other people, and, also be pitching your music. No matter what, you're going to get a lot of information from different people. You ask people for their opinion on things. It's, in a way you're kind of obligated to give your opinion, right? So, but at the end of the day, you got to get out there and pitch the music and see what other people say. You might get a yes when somebody else said it was kind of a no, in one way or another. I'd like to think that I never say this is a no, because there's always something good in a song. It's just a matter of like unpacking it and, like how can we make it better, and not necessarily being prescriptive about like, this is how we're going to take this song apart and we're going to fix it. And I hope none of my feedback ever comes across that way, because that's never my intention to be prescriptive about how I'm doing this. It's more like, let's figure out what's happening here so that like finish this song, pitch it, but then next time maybe you go about the process a little differently, try something new. It was talked about with that question earlier. It's like, is it the singing? Is it the instrumental? Is it a new producer that I need to try working with? Is it the theme? It's every song is going to be a different thing. So it's like, but if you keep doing the same thing, you're always going to get the same result. So you got to keep that in mind too. So that's the thing. It's like, I'm always trying to get better. We're always trying to get better at everything, right? Everybody is. I guarantee that's why you're here. It's because you want to get better. And I think that's awesome. That's how I got better, is just by showing up and asking people for feedback and just doing the work. So, and y'all are doing it. So, Faketta, you're here. I'm going to play your song next. And I don't see Leslie. So I think this is going to be the last song we spin. It's getting a little late too for me, and my voice is almost completely gone, but it's great. Again, I love doing this. So happy to do it. All right. And then we'll be into the weekend right before Thanksgiving. So exciting stuff. All right, here we go. This is, what is this track? This is Name Your Price. All right, let's do this. Name Your Price tool, right? Like, isn't that like Priceline? I can't remember. There's some, that's not their slogan, but it feels like, oh, that could be a thing for them. All right. Let's see. Present. Share the screen. Name Your Price. Here we go. All right. Mute my mic. Yeah. All right. All right. Was I? Oh yeah, I am still sharing it. Okay, good. I think I'm still sharing it. Could you hear the music? Pretty sure y'all could hear the music. I think I would have heard something by now. But anyways, hey, I'm glad we got to this because I really love this. I think this is great. I didn't need to listen to the whole thing just because I feel like all the pieces are here. I just feel like if this is still pliable, if this is something you're still working on, I have a couple of suggestions that might help kind of level it up a little bit. Oh, you couldn't hear it. Ah, shit. All right. Well, let me play it again. I'll play 30 seconds of it just so that everybody can hear it. Sorry about that. That was weird. I don't know what happened. I thought I shared it, but apparently I didn't. Sorry about that, everybody. Let me play this for you. Let's play it again. Name Your Price. I'm sharing it, and you all should be able to hear this here. Okay, let's see. Mute this. Okay, got it.
Yo, Banco, come take a rock when this just late was talking about. I know you're familiar with dope by your name, you know what I'm talking about. This the place on Google Maps they talking about. Oh, they saying pink, that's what I'm talking about. Let's get this money, no, far from a dummy. Excuse my manners, have high standards, had to say it blunt. Trying not to rub me, taste a diamond, she like talk about luxury, perfect timing, act more humbly. Now that we drink, they like, tell me what you think. Radio placement, every station, very entertaining. Oh, remember, how much do you want? I'll wait my. Now go high. So many offers on the table, now you go. Buttering up to where the bread at. Up and down like Nasdaq, get into the money, everybody mad. What was that? Quad.
All right. Hopefully you could hear it that time. So could you hear it? Let me know if you could hear it. But I'm going to start talking about this again because I feel like there's a lot that's going on that's right here. So my thoughts with this is, and again, there's a couple of things that I might suggest if this song is still in a place where you could change a thing or two. There's a couple suggestions I have that you might like. But obviously take what you like, leave the rest. But I think it's pitchable as is. I think if your song's called Name Your Price and that hook comes, the chorus, when the chorus drops, it's dope. There's like a drop with it. It turns real funky and you've got I love your flow on this. I think your lyrics are really good. I just think that there could be like a section with this or just something that comes in over the top that's like, name your price. Name your price. Like some kind of thing that's like, it's name your price is like the hook, right? So it's like incorporate some kind of, even though it's like something that's like a little pitchy and a little yelly, could be kind of cool there. Or even you create like a little section, a little break, maybe four bars long, that's like, where it's just saying name your price, just something that gives, it reinforces the concept. And I think that could be the thing that makes this not just a track that could work for something where they're looking for just something urban that's cool, but also if they're looking for something that's ad friendly. So it's taking something that is already working as a song and giving it some additional utility as something that could work in the ad space. So, because I think this is just a really intriguing song. I love the selection of sounds. I love the beat. And the other thing that I was going to say, so there's two other things. The first thing is that the vocal, I feel like needs to cut just a little bit more in the mix. So I think it's like finding space in the mix in the frequencies so that your vocal pops a little bit more. I don't think it's a volume thing. I just think that there's some other things in the mix that are competing with your vocal in the center channel for attention. So it's a little bit of a mix thing for me. And then the other thing that I was going to say, it might be good, is to at the end of your lines, to give added emphasis to the ends of your lines, because your punctuation, the way that you end lines, it's just so authoritative. You're owning it. It might be cool, and this is something I do a lot when I'm working with urban artists, is to have like the ends of the lines like just double and triple that up, so that like whether it's like the last word or it's like the last two syllables of a line, it's like you're and you hear this a lot. You listen to urban hits, like this is a technique that gets used all the time. So you probably know what I'm talking about already, but it's just a technique that I like. It's like, it's kind of adding extra emphasis to those last syllables of a line to just kind of drive it home. And it kind of just gives, because there's already so much attitude with this, it's like giving just a little bit more like kind of swagger to it. I would definitely, in a song like this, I think it could use it. So anyways, that's all I got. But I think this is I love this. This is my favorite song of yours that I've heard so far. So keep doing what you're doing. You're doing really good work. And that's what I have to say. I'm just giving a sigh of relief because it's been a busy week, and tomorrow I get to chill out a little bit. Hope you all get to chill out this weekend. You get hopefully it's not a crazy week for you all next week, and you get a little, don't have to travel too much. But if you have to travel, I hope your travels are smooth and safe, and hope you get to spend time with people that you care about. And anyways, yeah, it's we're starting to get into that holiday season, so it's exciting stuff. And but anyways, I'll see you. I'm not sure what the schedule is going to be for next week. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this because I think it's actually isn't next Thursday Thanksgiving. So I think we may tweak the schedule a little bit next week. But yeah, that's all I got to say is welcome to our, if you don't know 2Indie, welcome to our community. We love that you're here, and we'd like to invite you to just stay around and keep getting better and have a good time with us. You can find out everything that we do at 2indie.com. We host this show. We also, Sonnet, my business partner, she hosts a listening session on Tuesdays, and it's actually on Zoom. It's pretty cool. You get to hop on with her and talk with her directly. And she's had tons of licenses. She's such a warm, welcoming person. And she's also just so wise when it comes to licensing. So, probably more so than me. So I would say that we're both pretty well versed with this stuff, but we each have our own areas of expertise. And also, if you don't like the answer you got from me, you can always get an answer from her. She might like your song. If there's a part of it that, there might be a part of your song that I don't like that she likes. So it's kind of funny, but anyways, that's all I got to say. I feel like I'm rambling, and have yourself a fantastic weekend. I'll see you sometime next week, likely. And if not, I'll be posting something to let everybody know what the plan is, but otherwise I hope you have a fantastic weekend and see you next time.